say, every day is for the thief, one day for the owner of the house. But ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, has reversed the role. It is now every day for the owner of the house. If you're involved in bribery, over-invoicing, or any shady deal, the day of reckoning has come. ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you. If you're reported for any corrupt practice, you'll be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. Corruption is harmful to our nation. Join the campaign against it by reporting any corrupt practice to ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they want to
hand for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Hello viewers, welcome to Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly television program. I am Hawa Garba. A social norm is a pattern of behavior accepted as normal in a particular group, community, or culture in which an individual is expected to conform. The prevalence of certain social vices in Nigeria around specific sectors has made them assume the status of social norms. For example, bribery is rampant in the law enforcement sector. Tax evasion is almost synonymous with business, while government MDAs, procurement and processes are riddled with abuse of office, kickbacks, document falsification, amongst others. Identifying the specific social drivers of these bad behaviors are key to designing effective policy interventions targeted at changing the practices. This is our area of focus on today's edition of the program. In the meantime, we bring you anti-corruption stories.
Corruption not in my country.
Yeah, relax. That is my brother and I want him out of this station now.
We are proceeding.
Okay. Can I just see the IPO of this case? IPO, how are you?
No, welcome, sir.
That is my brother and I want him out of this station now.
Do you know the offense he has committed, sir?
What do you guys want for your weekend? Okay, let me see your DPO.
This way, sir.
Oh, better. You don't know who is here. That boy is my brother and I want you to assist me to free him.
The man found in the gun, confessed to robbery.
Things like this happen. 200,000 naira for you.
Are you bribing me?
500,000 naira.
Robbery suspect?
1 million naira.
That is corruption. Not allowed in this division.
1 million.
Remember,
Police is your friend. Giving and taking bribe is wrong.
corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Corruption not in my country.
Hello viewers, welcome to this segment on anti-corruption stories. I am Ruth Awudi. A civil society organization, the Initiative for Citizens' Rights, Accountability and Development, ICRAD, has offered to partner with ICPC in areas of legislative and policy advocacy. The group made the offer during a courtesy visit to the chairman of the commission, Professor Bolaji Owasanye, at the commission's headquarters recently. The chairman of the board of trustees of the initiative, Hassan Lukman, who spoke on behalf of the group, said the motive behind the visit was solely that of seeking for collaboration with ICPC in the fight against corruption for nation building. He said his organization was proud of the strides being made by ICPC in the anti-corruption effort and therefore had decided to support that effort, leveraging on its own areas of competence which could be deployed in bringing to fruition the needed amendment of the operating legislation of the Commission, the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000, in the light of current realities. Lukman also revealed that his organization was in the process of developing anti-corruption modules that can be domiciled in government institutions to help diminish corruption.
Were created are very lofty, clear and attainable. By our charter, ICRAD is created to promote, among others, transparency, accountability, probity, and integrity at all levels and across all sectors of our society, and synergize with public and private institutions at local and international level towards eliminating corruption, financial crimes, and other related vices in Africa.
Responding, Professor Owasonye, who was represented by a member of the ICPC board, Honorable Dauda Yahaya Umar, stated that he was pleased with the offer made because since ordinary citizens disproportionately suffer the negative effects of corruption, the campaign against it should involve them and not be left for the president or anti-corruption agencies alone.
So, we were inaugurated February this year, and when we came into the commission, we found out that we have to reposition the system so that we can be able to achieve what we want. The commission is working hard in the area of system studies, in the MDS. And I know maybe most of you must have read on the newspaper yesterday as regard to the constituency project tracking. It is part of the problem of the country because a lot of money, billions of naira always is being budgeted for that. And where is it?
Also speaking during the visit, another member of the board, Honorable Hanatu Mohammed, expressed hope for a smooth and fruitful partnership with ICRAD that would go a long way in reducing corruption in Nigeria.
And it's always good to have more people join the fight against corruption. If every Nigerian will join the fight against corruption, I'm sure we won't have to fight corruption anymore again. So you're very welcome, and I hope this is the beginning of a very smooth partnership.
ICPC has charged Nigerian youths to take a stand against corruption as the future of the nation lies with them. The Commission gave this charge through the Head of Education Department, ICPC, Baba Ashiru, at a rally supported by the Commission and organized by the FCT National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, Anti-Corruption Community Development Service CDS Group in commemoration of the 2019 African Union Anti-Corruption Day coming up on 11th July 2019. While addressing the corps members, he told them that they must be men and women of integrity as they were the backbone and strength of the nation and should play a huge role in moving the nation forward.
The ICPC introduced the Anti-Corruption NYSC CDS Group because of our belief that the youth have a major role to play in the fight against corruption. We've been implementing this platform since September 2002. We've been engaging youth corps members, mobilizing them right from the orientation camp, educating them, sensitizing them, mobilizing them, and actively engaging them in the fight against corruption. And at their places of primary assignment, we also constitute like a club, which we call the Anti-Corruption CDS Group, and we engage them actively in the fight against corruption because the youth have a pivotal role in the fight against corruption.
Also speaking at the event, the Anti-Corruption CDS President, Ose Victor Itopa, who was visibly excited, commended the Commission for its continuous support, saying that the group had been taught to use every opportunity given to it to sensitize members of the public on and against corruption.
How do you do that? Most of the time, our research team, we have several subgroups in our CDS. We have the research, we have the media, we have the drama.
Right.
Yeah, the research helps us to do write-ups and studies on various corruption issues in the country. After proper research, the media goes down to schools, even down like we are doing now in this sensitization rally, and also even down to market area in Abuja here, where we have those that are not the less elite part of the society. So we can educate them about the cause, the effect, and the solution to corruption.
The rally was preceded by a road walk from the Federal Secretariat to the Unity Fountain, in which participants danced and distributed handbills as well as wristbands to members of the public along the way. In another development, the chairman of ICPC, Professor Bolaji Owasonye, has advised pupils of Prime Scholars School, Karu, and Mater Misericordiae Nursery and Primary School, Nyanya, to shun corruption, saying that it was capable of killing their dreams. Professor Owasonye gave the charge during an excursion visit by some pupils of the two schools to ICPC headquarters recently. The visitors, numbering over 80 pupils, were jointly received in the Commission's auditorium and were treated to speeches and presentations that enlightened them on the history and activities of ICPC as well as corruption in general. The chairman, through Badejo Keme Braidikumo of the Commission's Education Department, explained to the pupils the concept of corruption, stressing that abuse of office for personal gain and taking what is meant for everybody for oneself only constitutes acts of corruption. He noted that when money is meant for building schools, hospitals, roads, etc., and providing other social amenities are embezzled by some individuals, it affects the generality of the society negatively, as people may no longer receive the training and self-development that can help them achieve their aspirations.
Now, we all have our dreams, what we want to become in future. But do you know that our dreams can actually be shattered? That our dreams may not come to reality? Do you know that? And do you know what can cause that? Do you know what can make our dreams not to come to reality? What is it? Besides corruption, what else can make our dreams not to come to reality? You yourselves can make your dreams not to come to reality. I hope you know that. If you engage in criminality, if you engage in robbery, will you be able to achieve your dreams? You will be caught and you'll be arrested and you'll be jailed. You'll spend the rest of your life in prison. If you follow bad friends, you will not be able to what? Actualize your dreams. So you and corruption can actually stop you from actualizing your dreams.
He told them further that ICPC was established to fight corruption, but could not win the fight alone, and therefore enjoined them to imbibe the culture of integrity while also joining ICPC to fight the menace by saying no to all forms of corruption like examination malpractice, bribery, fraud, nepotism, embezzlement, and others. Also, the head teacher from Mater Misericordiae Nursery and Primary School, Christy Egisi, who spoke during the visit, stated that the essence of the visit to the commission was to enable the students acquire a practical experience of what they had been taught in school on the ills of corruption.
Schools and also my schools. We, Mater Misericordia Nursery and Primary School pupils, we are here to train for the children, to expose them to what they have been taught in school. If you watch, under security education, we have different security agencies we have been visiting. But this is the one we have visited today, the ICPC. And we know their function really to fight corruption in this country. And we have taught them. So we are here for practical. And let them see by themselves and be able to, so that they will inculcate it in them to enable them to go out and be good citizens of Nigeria. And you remember what they said. They said catch them young. They are in primary school. Now we have built them. And now they have seen by themselves. And when they get to secondary school, talking of getting to university, they will know what ICPC is doing and the stated objectives, their functions in the country we are today.
She stressed that inculcating the virtue of integrity in pupils at their formative stage would help them grow up as good citizens as envisioned by the National Values Curriculum championed by ICPC and embedded in school subject curricula across the educational levels in the country. That will be all on this segment. Corruption Must Go continues with Hawa. Please stay with us.
This is Corruption Must Go. It is no longer news that corruption is destructive. Therefore, there is the need to ensure that any form of corrupt practice is prevented from becoming a social norm. Understanding the factors that drive relevant behavioral norms is a critical component of any effort intended to help the country make a headway in the anti-corruption fight. What are those factors that seem to be making bribery a social norm in the law enforcement sector, or other vices doing the same in several other sectors? What can be done to stem this tide? We spoke with some Nigerians, and here are their views.
Yes, corruption is gradually spreading its wing. The more the government fights it, the more it gets stronger. Economic and Financial Crimes Commission came out to say that banks are now being used as, organizations to launder money. You see, but all that will stop if we are interested. The Nigeria, we sit in our comfort zone and expect, government should. What are you doing? What are you saying? How involved are we? We must realize that this is our Nigeria. This is the only country we have. So it's in our common interest that Nigeria succeeds. So let's get involved.
In particular sector, bribery. Because when you look at bribery, it's a very major endemic part of Nigeria. I think there's a generation that is growing up that does not know that there's a life without bribery. It has become normal. And bribery, yes, law enforcement agents are the highest perpetrators. But this also happens in public sector. You bribe to move your table, to move your file from one desk to the other. You vow to get your award letter. You bribe for all those kind of bribery. It's so endemic in Nigeria. So I think that the people do not even know bribery is an offense. ICPC, the laws that you advertise about bribery being offense and punishable by X amount of years, that publicity is not going out there. That public awareness is not going out there. There needs to be information.
Yes, I believe so. And even Seraph's report, the one we published recently, it supports that fact. With data, it says that people are likely to encounter corruption with the police, 63%. And it gave data about other, and even the same people we spoke to that spoke to us to the survey, they are aware of what corruption does, and they are aware that even the little ones they play in paying is corruption also. But that is why we need to keep telling them so that they don't get deadened to corruption as it is. And the interventions we can do is to keep telling people, let them know. Now we can think telling them is not enough, but we must keep telling them. People must not get comfortable with it. Let there be a conscience, I will told them, that bothers them at home in their beds that corruption is wrong. Now, there are different sectors and there are different forces. For one of the things we can do for public sector, for instance, is the welfare and salaries of staff. And at our report run, you will find it interesting that a civil servant stood up and complained about the poor salaries of civil servants. And that it is not justifying corruption, but when even the government creates an enabling environment, then you will understand that it encourages to thrive. That's for public sector.
Can targeting sectors and communities with information on the human cost of corruption be helpful? How do we reframe the approach to anti-corruption messaging and interventions? Idayat Hassan is the director, Center for Democracy and Development, West Africa. She speaks to us on the subject matter.
Thank you for joining us on Corruption Must Go. We'd like to find out, is corruption now becoming a social norm in Nigeria?
Corruption it's already a social norm because it's an acceptable behavior for most in Nigeria, and that is why we say that communities actually condone corruption in most instances. It's more a turn by turn thing. They think he's our man, let him chop his own portion and another person will chop the portion. It's like, or some even accept it like if he's chopping and he has not chopped from our own end, he only ate from other place, it does not affect us, then it's acceptable. And you can really understand why this is an acceptable conduct. It's an acceptable conduct maybe because of the little benefit, the patronage system that trickles down to them. So they are able to get 100 naira, 1,000, 10,000 or benefit in terms of these corrupt practices. But most importantly, the lack of accountability in the whole system. It's a system where people steal with impunity and nothing is actually done to them. So it encourages more people to become interested in stealing. And even communities, most times you find it that they encourage their sons and daughters who are in political office to get a grab out of the national cake. So it's more of this national cake mentality. There is no acceptance. There is no real need to understand that there is no national cake. This cake belongs to all of us, and it's this cake that will deliver the dividend of democracy, which we know in terms of public goods and services to us. So Nigeria cannot improve, things cannot be better.
We can target communities and sectors on the human cost of corruption.
I think one thing is we have to start humanizing corruption itself. That's the first thing to do. We should not just be talking about corruption in terms of corruption being corruption, somebody stole 2 billion naira. When you say somebody stole 2 billion naira, 2 billion naira is a huge amount of money. But breaking down that 2 billion naira and what it represents in terms of bettering the lots of the people is very, very important, which tells us that there is something that is actually wrong with our messaging. We have to rethink what messaging really is all about. We have to start talking about corruption, at making people to see that school they do not have. That's their child that was actually killed or died on the way to the hospital or while in the hospital. The flood that killed people or damaged their crops. Several of these instances are direct impact of the corrupt act of some certain people. Then moving away from that, we have to institutionalize a social audit system. A social audit system where people feel involved and they are the ones that is actually even helping to whistleblow and expose corruption at all levels. Because when you have a social audit system that is working, where people are interested, where they are looking, when they are seeing, we are promised a transformer to be sited here. This transformer was never sited. What do we do? How do we get the person to account? And they start shouting, they start demanding that the transformer will be brought. The people who are also stealing will stop stealing. That will be an incentive to curb corruption. And those are the kind of new practices that are actually coming up in different parts of the country itself. Then it's also a collaborative approach. We have to go just sanction, yes, okay, good. But even where there are sanctions, how do we make things happen? How do we make sure that the government and the people have a united front? They keep a united front in terms of curbing corruption itself. So both the demand and the supply side will really have to coalesce towards combating corruption in the country.
Okay, you talked a bit about the messaging actually. That's what I wanted.
Audit. Then when we are talking about the corruption trial also, that is where our messaging should change. Most times we tell people that Mr. A has been tried and convicted for embezzling 5 billion naira. 5 billion naira again is abstract, and when you have an endemic system where people welcome corruption, when they feel that it is a turn-by-turn system, they just feel that is our son, he has stolen that 5 million, so what, is part of the national cake. But when they begin to see that this 5 million represents schools that they don't have, and they see it in vivid light, that see the children in the school are seated on the floor, they see how there is a disparity in the educational standard, the turnout in different parts of the country, and how it takes them back, then people will begin to relate more and more with it. It's about power of messaging. It's about this simplifying, simplicity, and using local languages. Again, we have so much emphasis on speaking English. It's not a matter of illiteracy, but messages get deeper meaning at times when it's in the local language.
Just as we said earlier, social norms are acceptable behaviors individuals are expected to conform for the progress and well-being of a society. It is therefore of utmost importance that destructive behavior such as corrupt practices are prevented from becoming acceptable social norms. ICPC on its part has deployed Section 6A to F of its enabling law to undertake enforcement, prevention and public enlightenment and education, which altogether are designed to prevent and deter corrupt behaviors so that they don't become social norms. That's our package on this week. See you again next week. Bye for now.